Yeah, I am really humbled to be here in this crowd and to share the story about what happens when shit hits the fan. And I think it's just really interesting to get an invite to do something for this kind of event. And then you're talking about all this inspiration, and then I learned, tell us the worst story that ever happened to you. And I thought, really? Like, that's what you want, is the worst thing that ever happened? I've got a few. So I hope that today, this is a nice way to sort of bookend a really inspiring day with amazing speakers. And boy, I came away learning a ton and can't wait to go back to the company and tell more. And with Carrie here, she can help to share the word of what we're learning here and all the great passion we have for PSE and for our industry and for this planet and for our people. So imagine November 2012. It's cold, it's peak season. We're shipping orders as fast as we can. And everybody comes into the break room, all 65 employees, and we tell them that our debt to equity has gone from 2 to 1 at the beginning of the year to negative 105 to 1. Debt to equity is a measure of solvency. So you bring everybody in, you say, this is the worst that it could possibly be. Well, it could get worse. The bank could actually call the loans. But aside from that, this is pretty bad. And what's more is that not only is our financial situation so bad in this meeting, and you can imagine the stillness and the quiet and the anxiousness in the room, but also we're underperforming for our customers. You see, the business has been built for 16 years on this idea that we would ship an order to our independent retailers within 24 hours a day, or within 24 hours of receiving the order, right? That's fast delivery. We are out 2 and 3 weeks. Carrie was there. She remembers the stress of not serving the customer well. And to learn, sales are up 18%, right? Orders are out 3 weeks, and the company is losing money. We're bleeding. What a horrible situation to be in. So how did we get there? And how did we get out of this? That's what I want to tell you today. We got there because we made a very good values-based decision on how we would treat our employees and how we compensate them. You see, we had started 1996 with a high labor manufactured product. We were sewing cat toys in Bozeman, Montana, and that labor was very expensive. And so we had, some years later, put in a really good incentive pay system for our people on the production floor. So as they produced toys, beds, what have you, as the company grew, they would get a certain piece pay for everything, and they actually earned pretty good money at that, okay? But the office staff was paid often salary or hourly. And so there got to be, as our teams grew, this disconnect between I have to work every toy and the pressure I'm under to make every bed, to earn my wage, is a lot of pressure. And we think we could do this better if we didn't have all this pressure. And you see, we all agreed. We're like, yeah, this is like an old model. This does not work in our culture. This has not worked for years. We got to replace it. And so we did. You see, we scrapped this incentive pay system. And we took that away. And instead we said, you know, everybody is so awesome in this company, so well engaged, we can make better decisions and reward our employees better if we let them loose and just make product as best as you possibly can. And they did. But what happened is we didn't have a measurement system to know any longer what products were making us money and what products weren't, and who was needing help and training in certain areas of the team. Right? 65 employees is a lot of people, and we had measurement systems that worked. We threw those out, along with this values-based decision to change compensation. So we had no way to measure what was going on, what was broken, right? We started losing money. It was about June, July, August, September, October, November, we're in the hole. That's how fast it went. So what did we do? We got everybody together in the break room, and I took out one sheet of paper. You see, I was building on 16 years of trust, thank goodness. 16 years of sharing our sales numbers, sharing our big decisions, our ups and downs with our employees. They knew where we were, but they had never seen our financial statement. So I hung up one of those yellow Post-it notes on the wall, and I started with a very simple P&L statement, right? The profit and loss statement was simply revenues, cost of goods, gross profit, business expenses, and then gross profit. And then I slipped in that debt to equity as sort of the fifth number. And I showed people over the next 3 months that we were bleeding cash. And what we were introducing was this new system that we have since run the company on, based on individual financial literacy to every single employee in the company. We got behind a movement that I had been following for 10 years, the financial literacy movement that is known as the Great Game of Business. If you've ever read the book by Jack Stack or Bo Burlingham, they wrote this book called The Great Game of Business. You need to read it. It's about how do you engage your employees in helping your business be profitable, but unleashing your people's talents to create success for that organization. And we started rolling this program out. And you know what happened is the engagement shot up. People realized they knew how to solve this huge problem we had. And they started figuring out ideas and putting in a new measurement system, and November goes by, December goes by, and guess what? By January, we had caught up on all of our shipments. January turned out to be our largest revenue month, our largest profit month ever in the company's history, and we were back on track. And ever since then, what we have done is we've met with our employees every 2 weeks. We showed them the entire financial condition of the company. That includes our profit and loss statement and our balance sheet. We educate them on what every line item means. And anybody in the company can ask any question about what we're doing. So what we have is a team of owners. We were talking in the car on the way here about what ownership means. And ownership isn't a piece of paper. Ownership is really about what it feels like to contribute, to have a stake in the outcome, to really know that what you can do is empowered and can make a huge difference in the company. And so through our expansion of open book management to include financial literacy, we were able to unleash our people's talents to create amazing pet products and serve our customers even better. And ever since then, the company has run very profitably, and we've engaged all of our employees in our strategic planning process, our budget setting, and in every 2-week meeting that lasts 30 minutes, where we run through our current condition and how we can improve upon that. And that story is all about engagement. It's all about transparency. These are the themes we're talking about today, right? And it's all about waste. When we think about waste as a manufacturer, it is directly tied to environmental impact, isn't it? Waste of electricity, waste of raw material, waste of people's capabilities to contribute. And we've taken all that and we've turned it into a huge business asset. So when we look at our business, we think of our operating system as something that is really key and constantly upgrading due to the continued input from our employees. And that's something that I cannot do on my own. It's something that we do in our company. And it gives us a sense all together that we are able to create something great. And what I wanted to share with you as a takeaway is that values-based decision we made wasn't flawed. That values-based decision to pay everybody fairly and hourly throughout the company is still in place today. But the business case, that's what we were missing. The business case wasn't there to back that up. And so my takeaway for you today is when you make a values-based decision, make sure you can understand what the business impacts are. Make sure you have a trusted advisor who can help you think it through from a couple perspectives before you roll forward. And certainly, you want to have the ability to go to your banking partners and make sure they're on board as well. And at the end of the day, what you're going to end up with in your company with engaged employees is a place where you love to go in and work, where you love to see people in the morning because they care about the person they're sitting next to as much as you do. And that is the kind of place we all want to work. And so for tonight, I wanted to share with you this worst story of our history. And I wanted to share with you that when you engage your employees and give them tools and trust and the optimism of the future, you can unleash potential that you've never seen before. And so I'd be happy to take any questions, but that's what I want to share with you tonight. And if you really want to know the truth, Carrie will certainly tell you more, probably. And she does like a couple glasses of anything, and then you'll really get the true story from there. So anyway, I thank you for your time and attention, and I think that in our businesses and our lives, sometimes the greatest things that come out of that are through the hardest times, isn't it? And so when we're here today and we think about the lows in our business and the lows in our lives or the challenges our industry faces, those are the opportunities for ultimate inspiration and action. So I hope that everybody here can take something back to their company from these conversation starters we have today that we got passed out to really further our businesses and our industry. Thank you. Kim, did I see you raise your hand?
Yes, I have a question.
You have a question.
So a lot of times when managers and owners, founders are afraid of open book management or
Yeah.
style that you just described, they're concerned that when they share that the condition of the company is not what employees understood it to be and they're making that transition to be to open book management, they're worried about employees starting to look for jobs if the company's in trouble. So what was the reaction when people saw, when your folks saw that you were bleeding cash and it was pretty grim kind of outlook? Did you deal with any of that? How did you deal with it?
Did everybody hear the question? Okay. So it's a great question. And Carrie and I have a friend who worked for us for years, and she doesn't work for us anymore. And so Carrie knows who I'm going to tell the story about. During these times, this leadership person, so we have a core team. And in the core team, it's the people who help set the strategy and run teams and help further the company. And we all sit at this round table together. The concept is a round table. We show up as peers. And one of our team members, who's an absolutely awesome person, was very fearful during this time. Not for her job, but for her team's job, which is an absolutely awesome fear to have, is how would my team react now that you're sharing these numbers? And I remember she stopped me right in front of the drinking fountain right after one of these meetings, and she said to me, if you keep sharing these numbers, I know that I'm going to lose one person who's already looking for a job on our sales team. And I think we're going to lose somebody else. I need you to stop sharing these numbers or we're going to start dropping in our revenue, right? We're going to lose our sales team. And I said to her, I really respect your opinion, but for me, the most important thing is honesty and transparency. And I know that if we are able to communicate what's really happening and how we're going to come out of this, not only do we stand a better chance of keeping that employee, but if they stay, we're going to have a real partner. That is true. So there were people who were getting interviews, I know that. But those people who stayed with us and those people that she was talking about are still on our team today. And as we go forward, they have been some of our greatest champions of growing our revenue and doing so in a profitable manner. And so every time you come through one of these troughs and you come out, you can get champions that you can't even imagine the power of that trust that you've built and the conviction that together we can improve things. And so I appreciated her challenge to me, and I think it was a really insightful question. Do we stop sharing or do we keep sharing the honesty? And we kept going with the transparency, honesty, and I think it worked out well for us. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Spencer,
Yeah.
can you share actions that came out from that extremely difficult and candid conversation, like from your employees? What things did they suggest?
Yeah. So during that time, employees were suggesting a lot of things, right? So the question, what you don't want, and see, we're a fully integrated manufacturer. So let me just back up real quick, and I'm going to get to your answer here. We're a fully integrated manufacturer. So every product design, every piece that's sewn or injection molded or shipped happens in one facility. So everybody's together. And what we are always aware of is that we don't want to have they're in the office, they're on the production floor syndrome, right? We're always working to that. So what happens is, well, it's really easy to say if the people in production had worked harder, right, we wouldn't have lost all that money, right? That's the worst thing, right? So we really had to work hard to message that we are all in this together. It was us in management that decided to remove that system. It was us in management that failed to put the system back in place that could measure, not pay, but measure the productivity. So it really wasn't a particular department's fault. And so we had to start off with messaging that was really clear about that. And I think we did a good job. But we had to make sure that everybody knew that we were in this together. So some of the frank conversations were, well, if production was put back on incentive pay, this problem would go away. And all we had to do was bring the conversation back to, do you remember how we created our core values as a company? Do you remember how we created our vision as a company? See, I didn't sit down and write our core values, and then I didn't sit down and write our vision. We got the entire company together for a day, and we worked those out. And our vision is quite simple, is that we envision a world where business success is friendly to people and the planet. And so we had to keep bringing people back to those visions and back to that core value. And then we got people, hey, we're all in this ship. And if the ship is sinking, we all just got to figure out how we're going to solve that. And so the frank conversations and those candid conversations really helped us. And also likewise on the office side, can we move faster? Can we get the sales to slow? Can we get the customers to delay their orders more? And there's this push and pull. And it was like, well, the customer needs to get served. We need to raise up productivity, get these orders out. And it was really a difficult time, but those conversations were very frank. Did I get to your question? Okay, good, thank you, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, please, right there. And
something I've been thinking about, so I'm wondering when you're teaching your financials,
yeah.
in that education, does that translate at all, or does it help translate it to personal financial?
That's a great question. So you learn about a company financial, right? And it's so applicable at home, and do we educate people on their home? And it's so amazing. We do this like with our lean manufacturing techniques, or even our open book accounting. We can share techniques that people can use at home. It's really cool. And in fact, right now, we have a game going on for the most people who can sign on for this online smart dollar program that we've launched, for all of our employees to, free of charge, participate in a program that helps them budget, helps them manage their funds. And we do want them to really do well at home, because the better people do at home, the more fulfilled they are in their lives, the better they are at work, the better they are at home. It's a circle that's beautiful, right? So we want to give people that knowledge and education they can take home. And so Smart Dollar is one program for that. But we also share with them some examples. And I think Kathleen Christensen, who's our CFO, does a fantastic job of breaking things down into examples of how it works at home. So you think about, you make this check for your pay. That's like us getting an order. And you take that check and what do you do with that check? Part of it goes to your rent, part of it goes to your mortgage, whatever, right? Part of it goes to energy. And she breaks it down so people are like, and then what you're left with at the end of the month is your net profit, right? And so we've tried to really educate people and bring it home to them, but also giving them tools has been really helpful. Yeah. Gerhard, where'd you go?
Yes, in financial transparency,
yeah.
How far do you go? Do you share also individual wages?
So the question is, do we share individual wages when it comes to our financial open book? And we look at compensation as a private matter. So what somebody earns, and this is the case with 90% of open book practitioners, is they look at compensation as a private matter. And that is important. Just as we wouldn't share, for example, what portion of healthcare Carrie would have in her healthcare versus somebody who's 10 years her senior, right? We're not going to do that, because by age it could vary. That's private information.
From business-wise and experience, I know that this is a very hard problem always, because people want to know where they stand to their colleagues.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
We talk about, and this comes back to the question around sort of how do you have these difficult conversations? I think you have to be really honest. Is when people are making a certain certain wage in the company, you've got to be really clear about what value they bring. And we've had this conversation on the production floor too. Is it the person who's running the automated sewing machines that are very expensive? That's very expensive machinery they're running. Do they get higher compensation than somebody who's packing a box, right? So these are very, very important conversations. We just have to be really candid about that. And so whatever your value system is in your company and how you can express the differences in compensation, I think that's really, really important. But for our team leaders, they're the ones who have exposure to their team's wages. So everybody who leads a team, they decide the wages for their team. And that's important. Carrie, is there anything else that you would add to that? Or, you're on the front lines with comp.
No, I would just say with the compensation, the P&L we look at every week or 2 weeks is, there's a lump number. We can say the office staff is in here, and production staff is in here, but that's as transparent as we get.
Yeah, Chris.
This kind of goes back to my question at the end of the day over there about spreading the word
Yeah.
to the public and buyers. of what you're doing. So when you go and talk to the buyers at your different accounts, whoever, do you let them know some of the things you just told us? Maybe not the financial stuff, but like all the recycling you do and maybe Bozeman. And when I was in your place, I saw that light go off and everybody stopped and it said, everybody take 50 steps, you've got 10 minutes, something like that. Do you share that stuff?
You know, we do, and I think Carrie's done a great job of getting more and more of that into the marketing and the sales literature, because we really want people to understand how our company is unique and different, because we think it's something that adds value. At the end of the day, it helps us serve the customer better, and that's a good thing. So we do want to share with them what we do and how we manage a safe environment, but also how our employees are really engaged and how we're good for the environment, but how we give back to our community. And I think one of those real success stories for us is the woman who does our export management, works for us out of Europe. And she has had such tremendous success with some of her customers about talking about the financial open book, which is really shocking to me, that the buyers that she's working with are really interested, like, wow, that's really quite a different way to run your company. So she's finding that as actually one of her sales tools. And so, yeah, we do want to tell that story, and we're getting better and better about telling those stories.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, please, go ahead. I'm just looking for the hand that's going to pull me off the stage. Sorry, I was doing a double take at Caitlin. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you a question about the retailers.
Yeah.
So, delivering late to a retailer, they all hate it. How did you handle that with them? You know, what was
Especially
the...
during that time of year.
Exactly. So I got 4 emails today saying, I need an invoice.
Yeah.
Where is it? It's like, I can't respond right now.
Right. So that's a great question. So when I started, I was really focused. So I'm a kind of a geek, and so I was really focused on like technology and how do you automate a lot of the systems, and so we kind of came up from this idea of like we can automate as much as we can electronically, but also we had to, from a lean manufacturing standpoint and a lean business practice standpoint, had to make things really, really efficient, so that we could plan ahead for those orders and get them out. So our history has really been delivering orders within 24 hours, and really even now in peak season, that's like, I don't know, Carrie, it's like 4 or 5 days out in peak?
Not even.
Okay, not even. So a couple days out in peak season. So we've been able to maintain that through these systems that we have, these SOPs and the manufacturing know-how. So if you're a company that does processing and management, there's a lot of companies that can help you figure out lean processes to help really move those orders through. And I think it adds great value for the retailers. So we never have retailers asking us for an invoice because it's invoiced the minute it ships. There's never a question really about their order status. Generally the question is, where's my order? And we say, well, we don't have an order in the system for you. They're like, oh, dang it, I forgot to order. Because there's like this belief that they have done this. Carrie, anything else you would want to add there?
I would just also add is that we have a really strong relationship with our retailers because we have an awesome customer service team who they know they can call and talk to if, to get the story of what's going on if something is running behind or whatever. And I think that our retailers really respect us and are loyal to our brand because they know they can call and talk to us, any of us, whenever they need.
And
I do love the caramel that comes.
Yes, they like that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're receiving West Paw, so I get it first.
So you know.
And they
Yeah.
tell us that too.
So if you really want to know how we do the orders, you might talk with her because she'll probably tell you the straight story. But we do really put a lot of focus on that, and so I would really encourage you to do that for the smaller retailers. Very fast turnaround, and there's great ways to optimize that. We can talk more about that. But for the larger retailers, when we negotiate contracts for orders that are more like palletized, truckload, we work with the sales team to make sure they do not overpromise, because that is really painful for everybody involved. And so if a customer needs a certain order volume and we're going to have them place that order volume with us, then we have to agree upon how many days or weeks that would be to process that order. And then it happens like clockwork. So when I was talking about 24 hours, I'm talking about the small, single pack, smaller orders. For most of our palletized businesses, somewhere around a week. Or larger orders are maybe a couple weeks out. But that is all up front with the sales team. That's their responsibility to make sure they are a good partner to the retailer, but also don't throw operations under the bus, right? So, yeah. Chris?
I just want to point out one thing that Beth over there, who's the video queen from today,
Yes.
when we were getting PSC started, she was really adamant about bringing in to our fold competitors. And I just want to point out here that Spencer and Stephanie at Planet Dog, she was there, down there. The two of them are really head-to-head competitors with good, high-quality, natural, USA-made products. And for 4 years now, we've been having these open discussions in our board meetings and our things that we talk about. And so, Beth, thank you very much for that pre-competitive comparing your businesses. And I think both companies have risen. And it's certainly impressed me how, Spencer, you can just stand here and be so open in front of all your peers. And Stephanie does the same thing too. And I think it's part of the magic, whoever said that, of what we're doing here.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. And I feel the same, you know, with the crowd in here. There's a lot of us that make toys, and we all have a place in this marketplace. I think it's really cool when collaboration can happen at a pre-competitive level, for sure, and we can differentiate our businesses in the ways that are in line with our values, and I think that's really key. What was neat today is on the last panel, you know, we got a couple innovative treat providers up there. You guys are rocking it. I mean, showing us you guys can do this and create great products, and I think this forum right here is all about what you're talking about. And Beth, it was, you know, you brought it to our board years ago as like, this is what we want for Pet Sustainability Coalition, is to be pre-competitive, getting people together to collaborate. That's awesome. It's been great. Okay, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, cut it.
I think everyone's getting good value, right? So the last thing is, if anyone has some of the questions that you had tonight when you came in and would like to share some of the responses that you got or your thoughts on that, then
Right.
Spencer can lead that as well.
Yeah, I have one, so I'm gonna share this because Carrie will probably get a kick out of this. Who have you met in your life that has challenged you to think differently? And I think it will surprise Carrie for me to say this, but the person I've worked with the third longest in my company, so 17 years, is she's now our chief financial officer, Kathleen. And she is somebody who has continued to challenge me to think differently. And I'm so grateful for that. It's not always easy, but it always has value. And so I just think about that. I don't know. You probably see that because we are often called the yin and the yang or something like that, or the pedal and the clutch or something, I forget. So, all right, who's got another one? Oh, I see some people reaching for their pockets. Come on, get them out, get them out. Want to hear some good ones. Okay, what you got?
My question was, who have you met in your life that has challenged you to think differently?
I like that one.
Yeah. Outside of my wife, I'm going to say probably the first distributor that we ever talked to. It was a humbling experience. You know, we've got this one product that we're super excited about, and we think it's going to change the world. And we walk in there, he's like, "That's all you got? That's it? Well, come back and talk to me when you've got 4 more products and a cat treats line and X, Y, and Z." And that really challenged us to change our assumptions of this is what we thought was going to be and this is what reality is. So helped us understand you've got to listen to the marketplace, listen to your customers, listen to your retailers. They're going to tell you the exact path you need to take to success.
Thank you, Logan. That was awesome. Great. Get another one. Yeah.
So the question that I got is, if I could change one thing about myself or my leadership, it would be ... So I discussed this with a couple of fellow attendants, and things that I heard was empathy, patience, listening with intent.
Those are great reminders for us. Thank you so much. Great. Need another one. Okay. You got one? You're kind of on the fence, and I want to pull you in here.
I got one here that says, what is one thing you tried and failed at in your business?
Yeah.
And it's, we have a business where we have a shop in Los Angeles where we make dog grooming products, shampoos, between bath sprays and whatever. And we get fantastic reviews from our customers constantly of these products. We started selling this retail, and we live in New Jersey, shops in LA. So we went to our local shops, and actually we had some buy-in from the local shops, and we thought, good, now we've got it. We go back to the shop 3 months later, 6 months later, maybe they've sold a bottle. And you're trying to understand what is the problem here, and you realize that we've been going to the artsy shops, and maybe The problem is that they focus more on their baked goods, or they focus more on the gourmet dog food.
Right.
And shampoo is way an afterthought. So we've tried to address some of these other stores that deal with a more broad range of products. And we find that they don't want to talk to us until we have a distributor.
Until you have a distributor.
And so now that's one of our key projects, is to find a distributor.
Great. That's great to know. So if some of you didn't hear, the opportunity is sort of how to find a path into some of those multi-line stores, and maybe distribution is the way to go. And for certain product lines, I would have to totally agree. I'll offer up, and I think Steffi might be able to do this as well, that there may be a non-distributor route as well, which not saying anything against distributors, but sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. So let's connect afterwards, and that's why we're all here, right? Is to share some ideas. And are you with distributors? I don't know.
Me?
Yeah, no, right.
No.
No.
I don't leave them.
Right. Okay.
It's not that I manufacture in the States, like, so
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess, there's certain lines that I think the model is more successful, I think, for certain lines, and some lines
Yeah.
aren't as successful.
And then there's a lot of people in this room
Right.
who work with distributors, and I
Exactly.
get a wealth of knowledge with Tony in the back there, and you guys can all help. But that's why we're here, is to share some ideas. So this is perfect. One more. Fifth. Yes.
Are you gonna write a book like Tony Shake from Zappos soon?
I can't write. No, I'm.
The title would be, "What Would Spencer Do?"
What's that?
Do a ballot.
A ballad, yeah. I'm severely dyslexic, so I don't write very well, and so I will tell stories. Thank you. Let's stick with that.
We should give away the
I'm
end.
voting for you if you do. Books are made of stories.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody else? Thank you. That's very sweet. Okay. I think that brings us to a close. So there's some food, I think, left around, and probably some more drinks to be had. My hope tonight is that you guys will stick around. We were happy to bring everybody to this really funky place. And again, thanks Caitlin and SJ, Sarah, and Steffi for finding these places, and Carta Elise for all her work today too. Really appreciate that, Carta. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome.